Conversion. That is the word of the day today for Gain Tactical Tuesday. Should be Caleb's middle name, Caleb Conversion Davis. But anyways, we're going to talk about, right, conversion. That ultimately is what it's going to boil down to. I am joined by one of my favorite people in the entire country, my good friend, Caleb Davis. Caleb is in Edwardsville, Illinois, home of the largest Air Force base in the country, right? Just east of St. Louis, right?
Largest supply base. We are it's Scott Air Force Base, which is 30 minutes away from us. It's the number one supply base in the country. So it's
There we
not
go.
going anywhere. Yeah.
Yes. And so Caleb's got an amazing story, right? Caleb is an example of an investor who became an agent. If that is you flipping that, like had great success on the flip side. So he's going to talk about his flip, don't flop framework. Caleb runs one of our great Edwardsville, but Caleb also is one of the most successful young agents in the country. That's when I met Caleb. Caleb was on stage speaking, had a ton of success, had scaled into multiple verticals. I want to set the stage a little bit because we're going to ultimately talk today about is how do I actually work with investors to run my cash machine? How do I consistently convert investors and get them to work with me? It's a puzzle. A lot of agents, get burned by working with investors. They kind of run around, do a lot of work, don't know how to meet the right investors. And if you're on this call, if you're an agent investor like us, this is going to unlock things for you. That's why if you look at this call, if you could see the audience here, it is a ton of other people that run investor communities. There's some highly successful agents on this call today. Corey just popped his head in, Caleb, and he's like, I'm so stoked for this call, right? Because they want to hear what you're doing to have success in converting. But let's take this back, Caleb. Tell me how you got started in the industry. What did you do? What got the bug? How did you get started working in real estate investing? Like, why are you an investor? Why are you here?
Yeah, so to go way back,
Yeah.
I was a construction worker and I used to wake up at 4:35 a.m. every day and had to go get materials, get the job set up. I'd moved my way up to foreman and we were doing work for these flippers. And I was like 22, 21 at this point in my life. My dad had been a real estate investor, but very like technician. He did all the work. And I had famously told everybody I'll never be in real estate because I saw the sacrifices my dad did for it and I saw how stressful it was because the way that my dad did it was the wrong way. So I spent all my teenage years, my early 20s, I'm not going to be in real estate. And my girlfriend's dad was like, "You're crazy. I want to be in real estate. You should do it." But it took until I was doing work for these guys in St. Louis that were flipping houses, and they were driving Audis and Porsches. And 21-year-old Caleb, that's making 13 bucks an hour, was like, "I like nice cars. I want to do what you guys do because you're like 32 and you have a brand new Porsche." So I started taking them to lunch, and I'm like, "Hey, tell me about this." This is before, like, the only coaching programs back then would have been like Fan Merrill's. Rob, help me here. What was it called? It was like $40,000. I can't think of the name of it, but
Yeah,
that was the
yeah.
only.
It was Than Merrill's. I think it starts with a B. Like bit. We did it. We
Yeah,
did it.
you
We did,
you you know what I'm
but
talking
yeah, but
about.
we didn't spend the 40,000. We went to like the thing where then they pitched it and it was 60,000. I was like, a lot of money.
Yeah, I went to the 3-day workshop and then they high pressure like tried to high pressure sales me into maybe it was 60, maybe it was 40. I can't remember this a long time ago. And they're like, "What would you do if Fan called you to partner on a deal?" And I was like, I don't like this. I'm not going to do this. So I started taking guys to lunch that were doing what I wanted to do, and that got me a ton of information. Like that was 10, 11 years ago, or about 12 years ago, I would say, just literally taking other investors to lunch. And I would offer to buy their lunch, which to them was kind of cool. They're like, this kid who is wearing painter's clothes and driving in an old beat up truck is wanting to take me to lunch and buy me lunch because this was before the whole training industry and course industry that we have now in real estate. And I would just take a notebook and I would ask them all questions. How do you fund deals? How do you find deals? What is a deal? And I did that over the course of months and months and months. As many people as I could take. Fortune builders, thank you. Yes, fortune builders. Um, I would take them to lunch, ask them questions, pick their brain, and then I started posting on social media that, hey, I want to do this. I want to buy houses, and I bought my first deal. This guy was about to lose a house to taxes. We structured it to where I was going to pay the tax delinquent amount, and then the remainder of the balance. I didn't even know what creative financing was at this point in time, but I had people that helped me structure a deal. I'd never heard the term creative finance, but my first flip was a creative structured deal. I paid the $9,000 in back taxes, got the house caught up. I funded the rehab with my credit cards, did all the work myself, and sold the house and made about $30,000 in 6 months.
Love
And
it.
then I started scratching my head, and I'm like, I make 26,000 a year working a full-time job. Now that was 6 months of 7 to 3:30 at my full-time job, 4 to 10 o'clock at night, and then my whole weekends were spent. And I did everything because it wasn't the greatest deal, but it was a deal that a broke kid could get into with a bunch of credit cards.
And how old are you then?
I would have been 22 at that point.
22. So you get the first one. When do you burn the boats?
Yeah, so I did two more that year. And then actually, I did no, sorry, I did one more that I bought and sold, and that one I made about 15 grand on because I hired a lot of the workouts. Still, I wasn't buying the greatest deals, but also 11 years ago, 15 to 20 grand on a flip was pretty good for me. I mean, I grew up very poor. I grew up in lower middle class, blue collar America, steel town. Like you can still buy a house in the town I grew up in for 70 grand. That's like habitable, which in most of the country is not that. So very, very poor, like upbringing. So to me, making 45 grand was unheard of. Like my dad had not made much more money than that most of my life growing up. So to me, that was life-changing money. I went to my dad, who I was working for, and I said, Dad, I want to change our construction company and I want us to be a flipping company. My dad said, it doesn't work. It won't work. He had got burned really bad in '08, building new construction and almost lost everything we own. So my dad, he had four kids at this point. And he was very scared, and I totally understand that he had a family to feed. He didn't want to take risk, and I said, "That's awesome. You have 30 days to replace me. I'm quitting." And it really hurt my dad and my relationship for a long time. We didn't talk for about a year, but I quit. I went and did my third flip on my own, and disaster hit. That house didn't sell. I still own it today. So there was very early on to burning the boats. It was like, oh shit, what's next? But what I had done is I had these folders and notebooks where I took pictures of before, took pictures of after, had all my receipts and everything because I was super worried I was going to get audited. And yeah, I think Rob, almost everybody has one of those stories. Like if you don't face, like, this is a good point for all of you. Like, no matter what, I faced a lot of adversity in my life, like a lot of adversity. And in that moment, when it feels like your whole world's crashing down on you, it feels like you're about to fail, those are points of our life that we have to overcome to break through a ceiling, to get to the next point. Because all it is you just need to, and like, this is one thing I love about Grid. Like, truly, all I needed was to talk to one person, and I went and started talking to as many people as I could, and I found money. I found a partner. He was going to fund all our deals. We were going to split the profit 50-50. Then it was really cool because I became like a general manager, like a project manager was my job. I got paid hourly to be on the job site, was the deal we negotiated. I was running the crews. We started doing two flips at a time. I think we did eight or nine that next year together, and I made like $150,000 flipping houses. I'm a long time ago, and I've had a lot of sleepless nights in it, so I can't remember the exact number, but it was really great. Like 22, 23-year-old Caleb made over six figures, which to me was the dream. Like the dream was making six figures. I never thought I would hit it that quick. Um, and then after that period of flipping that, Matt, he made a bunch of money, and he's like, "Hey, I really appreciated doing this with you. I'm going to go back and put my money back in the stock market. I think the market's about to go nuts." He was a wizard with the stock market, and he had kind of timed getting out of it in the right era, and then he got right back in it when the Dow and the S&P was blowing up. And I had to go back to the drawing board. So I was using my own capital, my own cash to fund things because I was very like, at this point in my life, I hit this like, oh, nobody's going to lend me money. Even though somebody already had, I had a lot of limiting beliefs, limiting doubts that like nobody's going to lend me money. So I started self-funding everything with cash. I was doing 50, $60,000 houses, refinancing it back out, and I started building my rental portfolio then.
So I love that. So this is your third year in?
Yeah, it was about year three was when that started.
Awesome. So you start doing your rental portfolio. And then I want to keep going on this journey because Caleb scaled to a level that few people I know have. right? And he did it on the investing side and came in. Rob, right? You'd scaled in a couple of ventures. I love you never heard Rob's story. Go back. We'll get you on this year and share it again. Of scaling and having our misadventures of like I'm going to do a property management and right. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
you kept scaling here. You just keep scaling the flipping side, Caleb.
Yeah, so it was just flipping and rentals. That was it until I was about 26. Was just I got this. I like to call it your three whys. So I'm very big about your three whys. That's we do a course called VDA now that we do is teach the three whys. And the first why for me was survival. That was make 100 grand a year. I need to hit what I thought is a survivable income because Justin knows this. I'm a bougie person. I like nice things. I was very driven by money then, and I'm not afraid to admit that. I still like nice things. I work hard to make money, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. We put a notion that you shouldn't be a greedy person or you shouldn't, but if you are not helping yourself first, like in the airlines, they always say put your mask on first. You cannot help others until you put your mask on first. And I knew I wanted to help others. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So next was my success why, and this was I wanted to flip 20 houses in a year. I will say though that when you turn into like a success why at times, and you can make the mistakes I made, is I bought some deals I shouldn't have. And I lost some money on some deals because all I cared about was 20 flips. 20 flips in a year. I thought that was cool because the guy who had taught me a lot, his name was Dustin Rieger, he had never done more than 20. And I was like, I want to pass up my mentor. So there were certain areas that just because I had this like ego why that I wanted to go after 20, I made some bad buys. But yeah, that was the next big goal is let's scale up flipping. I did it all with in-house W-2 employees. So I had about 9 guys at my peak working for me full time, and I had another foreman, and we were doing 2 to 3 flips at a time.
What's that final why? So you talked about the survival why or success why. What's that
Yeah,
final?
so significance is the next part, which this is what took me the longest to find. And I believe that most people take the longest to realize what is your significance. I do like the word purpose better, but my coach who helped me kind of learn the three whys, he calls it the three S's. But I like to call it your purpose. And this is how do you make the world a better place? How are you helping others? For me now, that's helping others build financial freedom through what is Enix and the different subsidiaries we own are all underneath of Enix. We modeled kind of similar to Rob. I mean, meeting Rob opened my world to a whole new ability of how I can help people. But yeah, the purpose, yes, and you guys call it level 7 impact. But it's my now it's and I don't have a number to it. I just want to help as many people as I can be financially free. I was at a company where we were all about 250 people being financially free. On one of my journeys, I went and partnered with a much bigger company, and I learned a lot there. I got a very expensive education, but the one thing I learned is it doesn't matter how many people you help, just as long as you're doing the best thing, the best you can. Because like there, the whole goal was help 250 people, but that was a made up fake number that somebody pulled out of a level 10 EOS meeting that said, we're going to help 250 because it sounds really cool. And we helped nobody.
So it was almost sounds like your success why.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a great journey. It's on the journey to significance. I've got to go through that ego journey as well.
And I really think everybody has to go through some sort of ego
Yeah.
journey. Like, no matter who you are, you have an ego. I don't care if you're the most humble person ever, you have an ego, and it's okay. Like, it is all right to have an ego at points in time. Just don't let your ego get you to do bad deals because you have to try to, and you probably will. You're going to. You can listen to me, listen to Justin, listen to Rob. You're going to do the same mistakes we made.
Yeah, for me, I've realized sometimes, Rob Carlos, I often talk so much about failure and right and just like mistakes I've made because that is what crushed the ego. There's so much resilience on the way. I don't tell the story of like, hey, I tried working for myself for 15 years and I did every imaginable sales or whatever you could to like make it happen. Um, it is a tough journey. Yeah, so to go on that journey because other people start pouring into you. Aaron's on here. I love it. Aaron's had all this is having great success because he focused on a niche. Aaron got called out on stage last year about being the top agent in his market, right? At this STR Wealth conference, which is an amazing experience. But then if everyone starts teaching like a top producer, right, Rob? Everyone's showing up in line and stroking your ego and trying to take you to lunch and buy you things. Like it's a new experience. especially as realtors, right? Everyone loves stroking our egos.
Oh yeah, people love to stroke your ego, and they waste a lot of your time when they're doing it too.
Well, and why do they stroke our egos? They stroke our egos because if you do the math on this, Daniel Dixon broke this down for me. If you are a buyer's agent, let's just use some simple math. You make 2.5% commission. Commission is, of course, 100% negotiable. But I'm just going to use simple math because I'm a simple guy. You generate $10,000 in revenue for your real estate sales business. That same transaction, that $400,000 transaction, generates $20,000 in additional revenue. That's why we talk about the model we talk about in terms of expansion and scaling into ancillary businesses, right? Because we are the ringmaster of the circus. That is why people pour into us because we are an economic engine for our community.
Yeah, Justin, I think just because I think maybe some people might have missed that. What you're saying is that it's not just the commissions, but it's all the other ancillary income that comes out of that one deal.
It,
Mortgage, title, insurance, construction, right?
home warranty, landscaping, yes, all of those things. So like every transaction is going to generate an additional 20, generates $20,000 in revenue. And that is why, and because the agent is the tip of the spear, that's why agents run our investor communities, because we know the agent has the most opportunities to monetize. Like the agent can be the quarterback and can distribute those things, which might lead us back to what led you to switching from being a pure investor and getting on the agent side of the game, Caleb?
Yeah, so that was I went through about a 6 month journey of depression and I was suicidal. I tried to take my own life twice. I leading up to that, I tore my PCL in my right knee the weekend before Memorial Day, which I think was the summer I was turning 25. So I was 24, turning 25 in about 3 weeks. My birthday's June 9th. And I tore my PCL wake surfing. I ended up in bed for 2 months, and I'm a very active person. Anyone who knows me, especially in my 20s, I played slow pitch softball, I played volleyball, I played competitive paintball, I traveled all over the country playing paintball. Every week I was playing some sort of sport. So, and I couldn't go to the job sites because I couldn't walk. I was in this leg restrainer, and it sent me into a super, super like downward depressed slope of my life that took me a very long time to get out of. Mostly because I went into like a very like woe is me attitude and like, oh, the world is out to get me. And um, fortunately, I had the income through my property, through the rentals I own, that I was able to take that time to go through a discovery in life and realize like this is before I knew about the three whys, before I even knew what a big why is. I'd never heard of Simon Sinek at this point. Like there was no like TikTok wasn't a thing then, so you didn't get that kind of info unless you really went looking for it. So I
Hmm.
went through a really sad, depressed state. And also, like, I was working probates at this point in time. So every client was crying on my shoulder. It was really weighing down on me. And I knew this wasn't what I wanted to do. Like, this wasn't how I could make the world a better place. Like, I felt good because I was rebuilding neighborhoods and taking distressed houses, but it wasn't doing what I really, really needed. And I was actually got introduced to being an agent at a closing. I was buying a property from an agent I didn't know. She was at KW, and she started talking about like the KW culture and how they're all about helping others and doing. And I was like, oh, I want to go try that. Like I would love to be a real estate agent. I sell a lot of houses, and I've helped a lot of people get into investing. And once I got in, I realized that this was a really I could scale a real estate team. I had tried figuring out how to scale a flipping company but I could never get past that 20. Like that was my barrier. I was not a smart enough business person. I didn't have enough knowledge, and I didn't want to spend the money to go figure that out. I was very stubborn back then that I didn't want to hire coaches, and because I had learned from free lunches or from buying a lunch for somebody for free, paying $40,000 for fortune builders wasn't my like I couldn't get over that hump. So I got my license at KW, and I was able to learn a ton through KW as far as like scaling a business and um, like how to scale a real estate team. So I actually took a big pause in the end of 2018, 2019 on flipping to go learn to be an agent. And how do I do an agent business? I only flipped one house in 2019, which was crazy going from doing 15 to 20 a year for a few years. Um, but I went, and this is where everyone's different. I wanted to, like, I had done the flipping thing. I knew I could turn that hose back on or that back on at any point. I wanted to learn this business. And once I realized, oh, I can bring agents in, and that can be a fuel that builds this company over here. Once I get the agents built up, they're going to send me deals. I don't have to spend as much on marketing for them. That was the next thing is, all right, I can help agents. Getting agents in, I felt a lot easier to me than trying to train someone how to invest and how to flip.
I love it because what you're talking about, thank you. That's a great story is this seven levels of freedom journey. I had gone, I'd built this cash machine, right? You talked to this energy foundational level of like I get exposed to this, I get excited about this. I built this rhythm of getting up at this time because I'm working in construction, right? So then I had this kind of natural rhythm to start flipping houses. I learned the Level two is I learned the predictable income portion of this. Like, how could I do this consistently? Right. Level three, maybe, hey, how do I turn this into a rental? I went on this kind of the business ownership side of it, scaled it up. And then what's really interesting to me, Caleb, is what drew you into being an agent is started with purpose. It was
Absolutely.
it wasn't I went to this meeting and I saw somebody and they were making more money and that seemed you'd already been on that journey. It was like, man, hey, the money isn't fixing what's going on in here. I've got a foundational issue. We've talked a ton about this. That's how Caleb and I connected, was having a very honest conversation on stage about mental health,
Yeah,
right?
and like I mean to even elaborate that more, I was a 25-year-old. I bought the brand new Porsche. I had a Porsche Cayman that was brand new. I had $250,000 in the bank, and I was the saddest I'd ever been in my life because I couldn't do the one thing I love doing, which is playing sports. I couldn't even drive the car. I mean, I was stuck in bed. My wife had to drive me around. Um, so then I went through another burn the boats. I found a 20plex and I spent every dollar. I don't recommend doing this. I had no kids at this point in life. But I knew I was going to make this agent thing work. And I knew if I didn't have money, I would force myself to make it work. So I spent all my reserves on buying this 20 family, getting it together. And then I went into the agent thing full bore. Like I had to make this work. This was where my most of my income was going to come from. Uh, and yeah, I am a person that when pressure is on me, I make fucking diamonds. Like I am going to, am I allowed to cuss on here? Okay.
Sure.
All right. Just making sure. I do not like if I want to be successful, I don't like cushion. I didn't come up in that world where like you have a comfortable life. So I burn the boats again and I forced myself to go work 60, 70 hours a week. This is a really important thing to go into is like a lot of times, and this is my opinion, some people disagree. You have to make sacrifices if you want to be successful in business. We only have so much time, so much ability, and so much money. If you don't have a ton of ability or money, like there's a triangle kind of here, and you only have time and you want to be successful, you're going to have to make a lot of sacrifices in life. I've sacrificed friendships. I've sacrificed time with my family. I've sacrificed time with my spouse, but it was because I wanted to be successful and I wanted to be able to help others more than I wanted to breathe. Like that was how bad I wanted it. So I went back into this 70, 60-hour work week that I was very accustomed to in construction and very accustomed to into building my flipping company. And that was how I scaled the agent team was I was in the office 5 a.m. some days. I would leave the office 7 p.m. at night. And the other agents were like, oh, Caleb can do it because he doesn't have kids. Like, you could do it if you have kids. You just have to know that you have to sacrifice that time to build the life that you want to live.
And so what did scaling look like for you then? So, hey, I came in, I'd had success here. I got on this agent side, you already had you've been here your whole life. So I guess you probably had a database
Yeah, so I was fortunate that
organically.
I live in the same county I've always lived in. I just moved a couple towns over is all. I love that. What price would you pay for freedom? That's a really, really great question to ask yourself. So to me, it was like the next step was hiring an admin. I'd had admins. I did a lot of like summer internships because I was just coming out of the college age and a lot of my friends were. And at this point, before that, to take a step back, once I bought the Porsche, everyone kind of was like there was you gotta remember 2014 2015 you did not get into real estate like nobody was getting into real estate everybody was running from the industry so there was a lot of my friends at first and close allies were like you're crazy this is a pipe dream what are you doing but once I started to find the success the guys who were going to school for business were like, Caleb, you're doing this. So they would come be like my intern assistants for the summers, drive me around, do things like that. So my first hire was a full-time admin. I knew I needed somebody to take the paperwork off my plate. I hate paperwork. I am very sloppy at paperwork, even to this day. I know the contract front and back, but I go very, very, very fast. So my paperwork's always sloppy. So that was the first thing is hire somebody to do the transactions for me and help me do the intakes because my paperwork was a mess.
I love it. And I'm just gonna, for the sake of time, we're because Caleb's gonna come back later this year. We're gonna talk about a little more and dive deeper into this expansion. Where are you now? What does this look like now? Because we're going to talk about this fix don't flop framework that everyone's on here for, the flip don't flop framework. But I want to give you some background of what the hours spent honing the craft, like why we're bringing you the best of the best. Why I think Caleb's one of the best to speak on this in the whole country. What does your business look like today?
Yeah, so I like to think of it as a funnel. So our top funnel is home team. Home team brings in all the leads, kind of like you were mentioning earlier, the 20,000 per deal
Home
average.
team is your real estate sales
Home
team.
team is my real estate sales team. So that is like anytime we have our sessions about talking about businesses or what ancillary. So home team's top of the funnel. Right below that, we have mortgage. We own a Mutual Omaha P&L, so I own 50% of that. I'm also a licensed loan officer, so I can make even extra money on those deals when I'm able to send those over. We have a title venture that we're a partner in. We're looking at actually, so that title venture, we don't have as much ownership as I would like. So we are looking at starting our own. I'm pairing up with a foreclosure agent and then a guy who is just kind of knows everyone in this area. Every agent likes him. So the three of us are in the process right now of starting our own non-JV title company, which I'm super excited about because that's going to,
Hmm.
the spreadsheets look really, really great on that. Property management is one of our newest ventures that we have, so that we're at about 130 properties under management right now. We've been doing that just a little over a year, and that was scaled simply through grid of like, hey, yeah, that was Rob opened my eyes to property management. When I was talking to him, because I none of the property managers in our areas do a great job. It was our property managers all did this race to the bottom of who can be the cheapest, and I said, no, we're going to be the most expensive on $1,000 rental. Between 6% and 10% is only $40 a month. But if the investor is
Yeah.
actually going to make money because they use us, so I'm going to continue this. I want to side road from the property management, and this is probably the best ran company I'm a part of. It's our most organized business because I started it with the most business knowledge that I've ever had when I started a business. All we did to grow that company is we called every investor we knew, and I said, hey, give me one rental. And if I said, I promise you, if you lose money with me, I'll credit you all your money back that you paid me in management fees. I was that confident that we were going to be able to bring
Let's
them
go.
success. As I said, look, if you lose money, if I do worse than you did with other property managers, you have no long-term agreement with me, no contract. I'll give you all the money you paid me back. So that way it can make up whatever losses. And that we just got about 10 or so investors to give us one deal each. And then slowly but surely now they're all calling us. They're like, I can't get out of my contracts with my other property managers on these. And they keep bringing us more. They're telling everybody about us. We created these raving fans that like I spent zero money on marketing for the property management, zero money on buying leads. It literally was just guarantee of service. We're going to give you great service because we were so confident that we were going to do a good job. And we do have some people that fight us on the 10% at times, but we're not backing down on that. And we're not going to. We know that we know our value, we know our service. We have an acquisitions team, which is very small. It's just me and two other guys. And really our entire lead source for that is our agents. We do a lot of short sales right now. We have about I think seven short sales going at the moment. That is our entire bread and butter for our acquisitions. We make the most money on those. We're able to help people in really, really rough situations get maybe your guys' areas don't have a lot of pre-foreclosures. We are fortunate that nobody in our area does short sales besides us. So we're now working on building a short sale company that we're building it out with the owners in the market center here. So I'm a 50% owner in that. And we're going to do all the short sale paperwork for everyone. So that way we can have another funnel that's leading deals into us. I have my rentals through Alexander Properties. And then I partner with all the agents and anybody in my world. I'll lend money on them for deals.
Awesome. How many agents are on your team right now? And what's
22.
your transaction volume?
Yeah, so we went from 9 to 22, I should say, in the last year. We've
Yep.
scaled very, very quickly. Last year, we did 242 transactions for 48.5 million with about nine people. This year, which I am very pumped about. Let me pull this up real quick. We have currently right now 7 million pending for 34 transactions in January. So like the percentage of what we did, and we've already closed like 3 million this year. On it, we're probably going to go somewhere around 70 million by the end of the year from 50 million, which yeah, I
That's
mean,
Caleb, can I just
27 transactions per agent last year for per agent productivity. Go ahead, Rob.
can I yeah, just double click on something that I wish somebody had told me sooner on the journey is your profit is going to come from your agent count. A lot of early on, I was having this discussion with Matt Magel over the weekend, and a lot of what I heard early was you need leads and then you need people, and that's actually wrong because it takes a couple years to develop agents, right? And so you need people, right? And you need a development program. You need to be a great onboarding company and a great coaching company and a great attraction company. And then you give them a play, right? And you give them how to execute the play, like whether it's calling absentee owners, whatever it is. And for a decade, I stayed pretty small because I was just like, oh, I'm just going to stay in the safe spot as a team. And man, was that a mistake, right? It literally should go from, like you said, 9 to 22 people, right? Because the Navy SEALs are found in the Navy. Anyhow, I won't say any more about that. I just want to just kind of double click on good job on executing that play.
thank you.
So
And
what I'm
and
going to
like
do real quick.
the
Oh, go
beginning of
ahead, Caleb.
2023, we had a complete rebuild. I'd been in a partnership, which I mentioned, which completely destroyed my agent business. I left that in February 2023 with two people. One of them being Allie, who's my business partner and like amazing. She's my integrator. I mean, I was so fortunate to find Allie. Like, none of this happens without Allie of where we're at. So, like, if you haven't read the book Rocket Fuel and you are a visionary, you have to read that. Like, you need last year we pulled me out of a lot of the things that I was doing that I didn't need to do and put them on Allie's plate and other people and got me into the recruiting role, into the selling role, into the big vision of yeah, exactly. Rob has Jess and Emily. If you don't have someone doing that for you, you can't do it alone as a visionary. It won't happen. Um, and it like really it's I mean a lot of what happens isn't me. It's I cast this really cool ideas and then they go make it happen because my paperwork's sloppy. So we spent 2024 kind of like what Rob was saying. We built out what we thought was the best 30, 60, 90 playbook I've ever seen. Like we got so nitty gritty with our SOPs. We took an entire year to do it. Some people would say, oh, you could do it faster, but we kept doing it, scrapping it, starting over. What else are we going to do? How do we make this better? How do we make this better? All through that year. And then 2025, it was go turn the gas on. Let's go recruit like crazy. And that's what we did last year. And the original, the 9 agents we had, we recruited in 23. The other reason, so our production's shooting up is they're all in year 3 now. And every single one of the original agents that we recruited back then is still with us because we poured into them so much to increase their income.
Awesome. So here's where I'm going to put a pin in. Anybody want to see Caleb come back and we're going to dive deeper into scaling and expanding and running multiple lines, right? Yes. Awesome. We're convinced this is, yeah, no, Caleb's the real deal. So Caleb runs, we got a couple basic frameworks here. If you're in our grid world, right? One of our basic frameworks is zone. Every single one of you should be zoning a market. That is our niche. That is your lead generation niche, right? Only 3 ways to get business: prospecting, networking, marketing. We've got incredible experts that have talked about all 3 of those, right? Caleb is running like us a networking play. He's running an investor community called Grid. It's a business in a box. You could do this with, go look at Rob. Rob's starting a new one. His wife runs, cash flow, the Breakfast Club, right? Entrepreneur, like a breakfast entrepreneur club. I forget the title of it. Rob is muted there. So
Entrepreneur Breakfast Club.
Entrepreneur Breakfast Club. Thank you, Kimmy. Sorry, I wanted to get the title right.
Yep, thank you.
So she's running the same model, which is, hey, we're going to network, we're going to identify, we're going to zone this market. And yet, anybody else work with investors? Like, I don't have like the best framework to tie these guys down. They're trying to do what Caleb did, which is like, can I take you to lunch and not buy the coaching program? Hey, can I go? Hey, Tim, you're brand new. Can I get you to go run comps for me and go look at properties for me and go do all the legwork for me and bring me a deal? and then I'll pay you a normal commission that any buyer would pay you. I'm not really going to compensate you for that additional time, right? So Caleb's come up with, Julian, can you put this up here? A flip, don't flop framework that he's presenting to investors in his market. I want to walk this through with you. This is something every one of us could go adopt tomorrow. That's why everyone's on this call in terms of, hey, what's my value proposition to investors? How can I get them to work with me? If you're not working with investors, y'all, we have zoned our market. We're working with investors because they're multi-transactional. It is a business plan. How do I invest in relationships? Can you make that bigger, Julian? Like full screen?
So I pulled that up. I shared, so I
Oh,
don't.
cool.
Maybe I need to stop sharing.
No,
She
you're
had
good.
posted in the.
You got it. Just zoom in on it so we can make it full screen. We got this. Flip, don't flop. Awesome. So, Caleb, walk me through what am I looking at? Like, how'd you come up with this? What is this?
Yeah, so I got tired of listing houses for investors that were not going to sell and that were bad rehabs or they thought were worth way more than they were. And it's a giant waste of your time and the investor loses money. It's not fun for anybody. So what I
Ooh.
decided,
You started at the end. You're like, I've got unsellable product with someone that's
yes,
unrealistic about the listing price, and this is miserable for
absolutely.
both of us. Got
Yep.
it.
So yeah, I was getting deals just naturally through grid, and I had a lot of people that were like, "Hey, I want you to coach me. I want you to coach me." And I would talk to them about how much it costs for me to coach, and they're like, "No, never mind. You're too expensive." I was like, "Well, that's if you will sign and always list your flips with us at a 3.5% commission. Here's what we'll do for you. It's the same thing you do for most of your clients, anyways. We just put it on a cool flyer and then we hand it out at grid. So we'll do a free ARV. So we go through." Um, Pre them as soon as they get under contract, and I go do the walkthrough of one of the agents on the team. We run the ARV for them of what we believe the after repair value is going to be. We also make sure we always email that so it's in a somewhere you can find it because I'm sure you guys have ran into this. You tell an investor the ARV and then they come back $30,000 higher because they spent more money. I do a 30-minute and like cost does not depict value. That's very important to understand in real estate. We do a 30-minute walkthrough where I'll go through and I'm go over what I think the repairs are going to be based on what our repair numbers are. And most of the time they're spending way more money than we would. So I hook them up with contractors that we have. We have two really great GCs in our area that we work with. The other thing is a lot of people in our area are using hard money when we have amazing local banks to work through. So I look at their funding, look at what they're paying, and typically I show them how they can save 3, 4, 5% per deal with some lenders that I have deals with that work with,
hmm
do really, really amazing lending compared to the 13% and 5 points or whatever people are paying. It's nuts. Um, Free design consultation. So this comes from our photographer, also is a designer. So I negotiated with her that she's going to do every single photos for us. That she'll go out and she will do like a 15 to 20 minute. Here's what I would do, and it's an upsell to where if you want her, she will pick out every single product for you. She talks about that with them depending on the scope of work and the amount of deals. So she'll say, hey, here's what I would do color scheme. Here's what I would do here. Here's how I'd adjust the layout. If you want, I'll design all this. I'll order all your materials, do it all. Here's the fee. They get access to our preferred contractor list. I don't know how to. Oh, there we go. Okay. Professional photography. We all do that already, but like some agents don't. So it's good to put on there. And then we partnered with our cleaner that we always use to give them $25 off the post rehab cleaning service because we had a lot of investors that didn't want to clean rehabs because they thought it was a waste of money and those houses don't sell.
I thank you. So what I love here, just to just double click on a couple things that you're doing, is right. There's a network effect going on here, right? Where we're doing some mutually beneficial things. We're asking people like a photographer to provide some value, and in exchange, we're creating a lead funnel for them. So it's a good use of their time and giving them an opportunity to upsell. But we're saving some money, right? So we got a repair walkthrough. Hey, I'm adding to the bottom line. On the review of funding, you said, hey, there's 3 to 5%, maybe we're saving there, right? Adding to the bottom line. It's design consultation. Again, right? How are we picking finishes that are going to sell the most in the market, hit our ARV? Like I love the packaging of this. It makes a ton of sense. Who's got questions about this model? Like you want to dive into the nitty-gritty. And it is, Caleb, to your point, like it seems very simple. It is what we already do. But I will say, like, right, Rob, we don't have this. I don't have this flyer. We're running this play for a decade. This is a great, simple, just value prop of making it digestible for the investor. Instead of me just throwing it out here, I'm going to be ripping off and duplicating this and handing this out next month.
Yeah, what's so good about this is when you do a flyer like this, there's so many people in the audience, right? If you're running the grid play that are in the process of doing a reno or thinking about doing the reno, and maybe they are new to the game. They're like, I did this, but not this, not the way you executed Caleb, meaning I didn't have a a download like this. I would somehow spot the people and then take them out for lunch and then figure out that they actually had a rehab that was coming up. And then I was doing this and getting the rehab, but not executed this way, which is so much better to do it this way. Because what you've done is you just put a line in the water and anybody that's interested is going to come to you. So it's the attraction play. Um, I love that. I could even see like a little mini webinar for you around this, right? Or a little mini, what's it called? What are those downloads called? Like a lead magnet, a little
Lead
lead
magnet.
Yeah.
magnet on this, right?
Um,
That's what this is. This is a lead magnet,
and
right?
what I love here is what did we do? We talked earlier about being the center of this economic engine, right? Hey, I'm generating business for my contractors. I am steering business to a local bank. I may not have a referral relationship there, but I'm certainly building goodwill. Probably someone that you're using, Caleb, I would imagine, or have
Oh yeah.
used, or
Yeah.
people
And
you know
I
they're
like,
using, right? So I'm getting, hey, our people get great service because we directing a volume of transactions there. I've got my photographer that I'm feeding business to. I'm supporting her business. And is that Cleaner? Is that who I think it is?
yeah, it's Gabby.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think,
So
yeah,
Gabby is like
Cody's
the wife of
fiance.
one of your agents, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So now I'm feeding Gabby, and Gabby's basically kind of built that cleaning business out of this ecosystem, right?
It's been amazing to see how many spouses to our agents are building companies that like grow with ours. So like Rocco's wife is our design and photographer. Cody's
Yep.
fiance is our cleaner. And it's cool to see because like our families are all winning so much more because of this. We did like a whole chart one time recently where we looked at like how many different people are employed, and like it's over 60 people that are directly getting work or have built their businesses around what Enix is doing. And like that to me is very powerful.
And when we talk about getting financially free, right? One of the things I love Rob's convinced me of is one of the most valuable things I can do is invest in my real estate sales business. That is one of the best investments I can make because there's predictable income. I'm providing employment for people consistently. That's a great what a change from going from I'm just going to sell more to like, hey, we've got a model where I've got 4 months of reserves and we're predictably, if I didn't show up, like I can see this probably about another year or two of Corey and I really producing, where the engine would run without us. They would still have the ability to generate their own income.
Yeah, it's the tip of the
Um,
spear. Corey's got a
this is
question.
great.
Corey,
Thanks so much. Super cool. Like I'm absolutely like R&Ding this right now. What I want to ask though, just for clarity, because on the design consultation end of that, who's doing that? Like, is you or you got somebody else who was a third party
No,
that I'm considering?
yeah, it's Valerie who does. She designs all of our rehabs. We pay her to. I used to design our rehabs, but she's much better than I am. So we actually helped her build out like what does that look like? What are you going to charge? When we were building this out, it was a call to her, and I was like, Hey Valerie, I have an idea. Like you design my rehabs, why don't you do others? And instead of doing them hourly, like you do a flat fee so you make more money.
What is that fee?
It changes every time. I think it's around 1,500. It depends on the size of the house. Like if you're doing a 2 bedroom, 800 square foot house, it's a lot cheaper than a 5 bedroom, 4,000 square foot house. So she adjusts that. I believe it's around 1,500.
are you
Sure.
paying that on
No,
behalf
Yeah.
of
the
what?
no. So the consultation is she goes out and gives them rough ideas of what she would do, and then hey, if you like the full design build out is a different upsell that she has. That if you want me to, I will pick out every single light. I'll give you the exact paint colors, and I'll literally put it. She puts it all in a Google Doc for them.
Whoop whoop. Perfect. Thank you. That's
And,
exactly what I
and
wanted to know right there.
Yeah,
And
it honestly doesn't take her that much time
Yeah.
because I mean, she's making a killing when people decide to go that route.
Caleb, can
and
So
I
she's also a photographer. So she's also, right,
Yep.
generating, yeah, this opportunity here, using it for
cool.
that as well.
Caleb, can I ask you a question? I'm sorry to jump in, Justin. It's just a question I have
No,
for
go
Caleb,
ahead.
but we got him. Um, how do you think about I'm curious to hear your opinion on helping buyer investors versus helping seller investors. Where do you spend your time? How do you coach your team around that idea? Go.
Yeah, so my entire time is I help investors sell. I do not work on the buy side. I don't have an interest in working on the buy side. It is not who I am. The agents on my team do help them, and we do a lot of like deal review. So we have a bi-weekly mastermind that we do that is our investor. It's a completely optional mastermind, and that is how we help our agents analyze deals, any deals that they're bringing in, and then we have Gavin who does like Gavin is our dispo guy. He knows everyone. So a lot of our agents, if they're finding deals to send investors, they just go right to Gavin, and Gavin is the one who pairs our agent up, make sure our agent gets paid their fee. So we just have Gavin doing all of the disposition. He has the full sheet of all of our investors, what they're looking for, and that's like we're very good about grabbing what does every person want, what are they looking for, and then yes, Justin.
No, no, no. Finish your thought.
Oh, and then like Gavin is the like we tried a lot of okay, all the agents this was a tried and failed period or early on of running grid is agents are going to get the deal and then the dispo that way they can make more money per deal, and we just weren't moving deals like they weren't happening because you got Cody over here who knows two investors that might buy in Granite, but he gets a deal in Belleville, and then it's like oh, does he go to this agent to get their Belleville buyer, and then they're barely making any money, so we just put Gavin in charge of all dispo.
The backstory is because Caleb is running all of these plays for so long. I've been in Caleb's office. He had this little office. It was packed. This little corner office, packed like 8 desks, and he had his agents and his disposition guys in the same room at the same time. Everybody's in there, everyone's on the headset, everyone's making phone calls, but I was watching it and I was like, oh, there's an ecosystem where I can just, hey, Caleb, hey, Rob, hey, Gavin. Like, so there's
And
very
it's still
easy
that way. It's just
message
a
back
much
and forth.
bigger office. It's
Sure.
over there and now it's like fits like 17 desks.
Awesome. This was the
But
smallest
yeah, it was
Caleb,
package.
tiny.
my point of asking that question was I wanted people to hear that there's a side that controls inventory
Yes.
and there's a side that like is selling property, right? Or helping investors. And many times, like when you listen to something like Bigger Pockets, they talk about the investor friendly agent. And I was literally on the podcast. I was like, I hate that, right? But the market accepts that. The market knows what that means. But it sounds like when you think of an investor friendly agent, oh, this agent's going to go help me buy properties. When in reality, no, like a great investor agent is going to help you sell your assets better, help you understand what your better buy boxes are, control inventory so they can then sell it to their investors, right? It's all about controlling of inventory at that point.
When you're saying controlling inventory, we're talking about the acquisition business.
No, no, no. I'm actually talking about even listings,
Oh,
right?
controlling
Like,
listing
yeah, you
inventory.
could you
Yeah.
could get short sale just like Caleb's doing, right? Like you can control distressed
Gotcha.
assets that are pre-foreclosure that other investor buyers want, right? And
Yes.
so,
Yes.
that pre-foreclosure market is a big one for us.
Yeah,
Because
it's
the
in
agent
our
the
area. It's
agent
huge right
creates a
now.
marketplace. Yeah.
You create your own marketplace.
Yeah, Caleb, go ahead.
So I would say the pre-foreclosures in our area, I can't believe nobody else is tapping into this. So our taxes have almost doubled in the last 4 years. So everybody who bought 4 years ago, their payments went up $500-$600 a month. There's tons of people who are behind right now on payments, and in our market alone, I'm not sure everywhere it's different, but Illinois has
Sure.
very high property taxes. So it's yeah.
Okay. I love this. Caleb, anything about deploying this that surprised you? Because you were doing it already when you were in this program. Anything that you've learned running this, if I'm going to go launch this,
You have
one
to
piece of
continually talk
advice.
about it. We had a few
Yeah.
grids where like we didn't put it into like we were busy in the summer. Things were happening. This didn't happen in our slideshow and it didn't get printed out on the tables uh, because we're not perfect. We are far
Yep.
from perfect. And then all of a sudden we stopped getting listings through it and people stopped mentioning it. And like last fall, I was like, hey, I haven't had a single call asking about flip, don't flop recently. And then I was like, oh my God, we didn't talk about it in 3 months. Like these same people come, but like I saw one of my investors list a house with someone else and he just forgot. Like, as being an agent, I tell this story to my agents all the time. This is very, very important. So my mother and father, who I have very great relationships with, they are my biggest referral partners. They give me more referrals than anyone else. I call them every quarter, and I call my dad every day. Me and my dad have every day we talk because he runs our project management now. But still, I have a separate phone call each quarter where I call my mom, call my dad separate. They usually end up three-waying each other in, and I'm like, "Hey guys, just doing my calls." And I have a different call with my parents than I do other people. I'm like, "Do you guys have any referrals?" I called my mom last Friday and she had two. My dad had another one. And I said, how long have you been sitting on this? They're like, oh, we just forgot to tell you. Like, if you, like, these are my parents who I employ. So, like, I was just telling my agents this yesterday on my team, like, guys, like, you have to think about that. If my own parents aren't giving me referrals until I ask for them, there's a reason you're not getting referrals from other people. You have to continually ask and repeat and beat it into people's heads. We do this program. We are going to make sure you have a successful flip. And as soon as you stop talking about it, they forget because there's so many other things going on in the news, grabbing their attention, capturing their attention that stops them.
No, I love that, right? Our job is to continuously promote, and
Yep.
you don't learn this until, had the privilege of doing like 50 events in 1 year, and you just don't learn this until like, no, you think people are getting sick of you, and they did not see the Facebook post, they didn't see the text, they didn't, they need the 7 reminders to actually show up to your thing.
Oh, absolutely. If you yeah, if you're not the other thing to add to that is when your cousin lists a house with somebody else, you can't get mad at your cousin. You get mad at yourself because you didn't call your cousin enough and build a good enough relationship. I had a cousin that listed with somebody else and he said, I forgot you were in real estate. I was like, Luke, are you fucking kidding me? How did you? And he's like, I genuinely did. I'm so sorry, Caleb. I'm like, dude, I see you every Christmas, but that's not enough.
I love that. Okay, so flip, don't flop. Caleb, drop Caleb's info, Julianne, in the contact info so everyone can connect with him, follow him. Ton of great content that he's putting out there. What he's done in his community there in Edwardsville, like Caleb is that guy. I've been to that community. I was there when they launched in terms of like having presence, pouring into people, impacting others. How can we help you with your goal, helping people get financially free, Caleb?
It's a good question. I don't know how to answer that. I'm not
All
sure.
right.
I mean, if you were in the area, I'd say send people my way.
So
I
if you've
just
got a St.
follow us on
Louis,
socials, and yeah, if you got
Edwardsville,
someone in
Illinois
St.
referral,
Louis,
think of Caleb and
yep,
his team.
absolutely. That's the best way to help. Or follow us on socials, engage with our posts, help us reach more people through social media. And then also, like if you guys have questions, I mean, I know you guys have Rob, but if you have other questions that you want to ask me, email's the best way. I'll put my email in. I am actually one of those people who's very good about email. I'm not the best answering my phone because I get 15 spam phone calls a day. So text or email if you want to get a hold of me. Don't call me.
Love it. Caleb, thank you for your time. I am excited. Caleb, we had the privilege of having Caleb come and speak on a panel. Rob, I was just thinking about that. I got to find that recording of his speech at our GridCon, our Grid Leader Retreat. It was fantastic. Appreciate you all. Next week, Julianne, who do we have? Right? We have Oh, this guy is fantastic. Dan O'Halloran is coming from New Hampshire to talk to us. Dan, if you want to talk about what Caleb's done has been pretty impressive, if you want to talk to someone that totally dominates their sphere on an event level to a super high level, Rob, you're going to be blown away. And this is saying a lot. I met Rob, and Rob was teaching on stage about dominating your community through events and psychographic marketing even farther. Created like a whole community ecosystem, like client event that all these businesses take part of. Incredible agent scaling this. Dan O'Halloran is going to be coming here talking about how to use data to make decisions, how to drive those. So we'll see you next Tuesday. I'm going to jump off here. Corey, it's time to go take some territory. Be excellent, y'all.
Thank you guys so much.